This is the Impact Unlimited podcast, and in today's episode, I'm interviewing Sabba from Veedio. Sabba and his team have built the tech startup Veed from zero to over $40,000 a month in recurring revenue. It's helping thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world, and today we're diving into the story of how he made it happen and where they're going as a company. It's an exciting journey, a great conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it, so let's get started. Hey, what's up, and welcome to another episode of the Impact Unlimited podcast. This is the show where I sit down and interview industry-leading experts with an aim to equip you with both the skill sets and the mindsets to become an impactful entrepreneur. So if you want to become a better leader, build bigger businesses, get more done in less time, and create an impact in the world, then look no further and let's get started. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show today, guys. I'm here with Sabba, the man, and I'm really interested to dive into a topic of conversation today, which I think you're going to find fascinating. Sabba, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Sabba, you are a tech startup entrepreneur, which I don't know what you call yourself, but that's what I'm just labeling you for today. But I'm super excited to dive into it with you. What we tend to do on the show, though, is just dive into a couple of quick fire icebreaker questions just to get the audience warmed up. So are you ready for that?
I'm ready when you are. Let's go.
Good stuff. All right. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I didn't know, I think. Yeah, I didn't know.
Fair answer. Any good books you're reading right now? Best book?
I'm on 7 Powers at the moment, which is a really great book. 7 Powers.
7 Powers. Sounds good. Have you got a favorite quote?
You know what? I don't have that either. I didn't know what I wanted to be growing up, and I don't have a favorite quote.
No, it's fine. You can break the mold. I like it. It's good. And this is the one I love to ask people, right? Because this fascinates me how people answer. If you could time travel to any time period in the past, not present, because that wouldn't be traveling, or the future, where would you go?
I would definitely go to the future, and I'm not sure how far ahead, but I would say about 70 years, just to see how far we've come and what those new interesting things in technology where we've got to.
Totally. I reckon it's going to be crazy in 70 years. Hey, crazy times.
I want the lenses, the augmented lenses. That's what I really want, totally. And the flying car.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it'll happen. So Sabba, amazing. Thanks for doing those and just letting the audience know a bit about yourself. But let's get into some serious stuff. Tell us a bit about what you do. Tell us a bit about the company that you run and what it does as well.
Sure. So I'm one of the co-founders of Veed, and Veed is a simple online video editing platform. We have a lot of people using it to make entrepreneurial content for their Instagram. So that's like the Gary Vee style videos. We have a lot of podcasters using it to make videos as well, and just really powerful subtitling and simple editing in the browser. I started it with my friend Tim about a year and a half ago, but it only really got serious about a year ago when we started charging for the product. And so to date, we're about $40,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and we're growing at a nice 40 to 50% every month.
Yeah, awesome. And that's how I asked you to be on the show, because we're a user of the product. I found the product, it was recommended to us by someone, and loved the product. But what I loved most about it was just your attentiveness to your customers. Honestly, it blew me away, because we wanted to work with it with our team. Do some production of exactly like you're saying, take some videos, chop them up, put them out to social media, and we were using another tool. It wasn't really kind of hitting the bill, and so we found Veed and started using it. And I'm like, I'd love to have this feature to be able to work with my team on it. And I emailed you and you're like, sure, I'll put it up. Yeah. And you changed it. You implemented it. And I was like, that blew me away. And so I was like, I've got to get this guy on the show and ask him questions, because, you're a growing tech startup. You've got a bunch of things to do, but you made that happen. Like, talk to me about your mindset behind that, because like I say, it blew me away.
Yeah, I know. I'm really pleased. That does make me really happy. So I think there's a few things. One is we think that technology can be really impersonal sometimes. So whatever we can do to bridge that gap, whether it's the chat, we have optional onboarding calls that we will do with as many users as we have to. And we just want to make it really personal and, let people know that we really care. But it's not just about caring. It's just really useful for us to know what our customers want and what they need us to build for them. Because the only way we're going to be able to build a great product is by really understanding who our users are and what they want us to build. So when you came to me and said, hey, we need this collaboration feature, I'm in a really good position to be like, all right, cool, we're pretty much done. We're going to put it live in the next couple of days. But then having that dialogue with yourself just makes it really good for you to then give me feedback to learn how we can then improve that for the future. So it's about learning from our customers and just building that relationship.
I think that's a massive lesson for so many entrepreneurs listening. It's like, get the input from your users, because A, that's like, customer for life, you got me there. And then B, those are the people that are using it in their use case. And there's a reason why they want a certain feature. And so no, I absolutely love that.
And it's quite, just another thing to add to that, I just posted on my LinkedIn yesterday about like a little milestone we hit when we just crossed 2,000 paid users on monthly subscriptions. And there's a bunch of comments, and 90% of them are users from the platform who I've then added on LinkedIn, or they're added on LinkedIn, and they're all rooting for us. So, to get those hardcore fans, the people that love what you do, you have to to put the effort in and build that relationship, and they will be the ones to tell their friends and the next lot about what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really good. There's a few areas I'd love to dive into, Sab. I mean, I think first of all the product, and then the journey, because they're two both fascinating for me, and I'm sure they will be for our listeners. In terms of a lot of the listeners will be entrepreneurs just starting up, and I think there's the product can really help them, but understanding the product and then the journey you went on with it, I think could be some really interesting learning. So, talk to us a little bit about the product, because it's a great product. The subtitle feature I think is really, really good. It's really accurate. Really helpful. There's loads of features in there that are great, but one of the things you said to me pre-record is we were just chatting. One of your philosophies is ship it as soon as you possibly can. You want to get it out there fast so you can then iterate and learn, which I think is a fascinating mindset, because there's so many entrepreneurs that want a product to be perfect before the world sees it, and the world never sees it, right? So talk to us a bit about that tension, how you found that, and speak to that a bit.
Yeah, so I think when it comes down to shipping products early and getting things out quick, what we're trying to do here is improve the speed of learning. So if our development cycles were 6 months, right, and we only had a year's worth of money in the bank, we'd only be shipping 2 iterations of the product. And that's just not quick enough for us to learn. And for a technology company, we need to move really, really rapidly and really, really fast. And the way that we can do that is by reducing that speed of iteration. So we try to then build a feature in a week or less, get it out to users, and then get that feedback. And then 2-3 days, we've got the next update. And then, after that, we've got the next update. And then that way we can really start shaping how the product develops. And it's completely led by the user's demands, not us. And I think an interesting example of where we previously went wrong with this is when the team built video effects and filters. And as you said, you think the subtitle tool is great, and that's where our focus should be. But at this point in time, we were focusing on the filters and the effects. Now it's like hardly used by anyone, and that was just a waste of a month's worth of work. Sure. So I think, so it's just, what do people really want? What can we focus on, and where can we provide the most value? And how can we iterate on that as quickly as possible? So that's where the focus is there.
Yeah, definitely. And what's some of the keys to like that speed? Because, it's one thing to have an idea of making something happen, but I know I struggle in our business often is like, I've got all these ideas for the next 12 months, but it's actually making them happen quick enough. There's some things that you can speak to about that, how you managed to make that happen.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to confess, I am like the biggest daydream and wanderer, new idea person. And during this journey of Veed, I've had multiple different ideas that I'm like, it's just something simple. We could just spin it up and it will just like take care of itself. But unfortunately, like that just doesn't exist. Like you can't have a side project that will just run itself. And I don't think there's any sort of thing as like passive income. So, it's just having that focus. And I think the reason why I now have that focus is because I can see what happens when you just put all your energy into one thing and one thing alone. And I've previously done many other projects in the past and none of them really got anywhere. But it was only when I really doubled down, went full time and put all my energy into one thing. So I think that's really important when it comes to focus. And then in terms of getting, things out really, really quickly, I think that's all about just like lowering your expectation, right? And being relatively comfortable with that sort of like failure. And I think once you're comfortable with it not being great and just getting it out, then you kind of just get used to it and the ball gets rolling a bit better. And I think a really good example is like, as you see our platform now, like you'd be like, oh wow, this is amazing. And if someone wanted to compete with us, they'd probably think that they'd have to get to where we were as a level to then compete with us. But actually, if you wanted to compete with us, all you'd need to do is build a crop tool that is just better than our crop tool, right? Sure. Just do the one thing and do it really, really well. So, just get that stuff out, tell the world about it, put the next thing in, tell the world about it, and just keep that cycle going.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love that mentality because I think for me, especially, it's something that I struggle with. Often I'm a perfectionist, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And it's like, it's not to say that I put out perfect work or it's anything amazing. It's just, if it's not as good as I feel it possibly can be, I struggle to put it out there. And it's something that I've had to work on so much because as an entrepreneur, that's the thing that's going to hold you back. People think you've got to put out great work. And yes, of course, aspire to that. But you've got to be willing to put stuff out there, like you say. And so I love that so much. I think, obviously, it's been one of the keys to that quick growth because, like you say, in a year to really sort of grow to that level, I think is a great achievement, mate, and testament to your mentality and the product itself, obviously.
Thank you. I mean, it's, as you said, it's the same with content, right? Like you could, and this comes also back to what we talked about of speed of iteration. And that is, if like the recording that we're having now is going to be relatively easy for you to then edit and then put on YouTube. And that will reach your audience. And yes, there's some time setting this up and then there'll be some post-production, but it's going to be a lot easier to produce this piece of content and get it out and do this sort of format regularly than it would be making, for example, a travel video, because you need to book flights, go there, record for a week, come back. So, also think about what you're making and the format of what you're making and how quickly you can reproduce that format.
No, it's so good. I mean, that's a big thing. We've got like a training on marketing, like mastering marketing. And one of the big things that I teach, my philosophy that we've grown into, and not that I got it perfect, as we're on a journey like anyone, but is rather than spending, 10 hours on 10 pieces of average content, spend 10 hours on one piece of great content that then can flow down into other mediums, whether that's a video or a blog, really invest something. So it's really high quality for your audience, but then, repurpose that, syndicate that out. And I think obviously that's what your tool is creating so many possibilities with. So it's, that's really a lot of alignment there. So it's exciting.
No, yeah, I mean, like this video alone, you could then cut it up into 10 small pieces, and that's 10 days worth of Instagram content. And then maybe there's a blog topic that you can then take out of this, or a transcript. So it's just using that content again and again and making it work for yourself,
Totally, yeah, for sure. No, that's exciting. So talk to us a bit about the journey then. Obviously, the product is where it's at now, and it's as much as we sit here and say, and I sit here and say it's great and well done, I'm sure you're like, oh, it's so far from where we want it to go, and you've got a lot of time to run on it. But talk to us about how you got so far, because that's what's exciting, right? In 2020 is that, young punks like us can just start these businesses and build brands, and it's exciting, right? It's an exciting time to be alive, but you've got to make an idea happen. So talk to us about, the early days, how you've gone that journey, building team. I'd love to dig into some of that kind of stuff.
Sure. So my background's in design. I went to an art school, graduated, and I was working in creative technology. So building kind of like basic websites, doing a lot of design work in agencies. And then when I was working at a creative agency once, a social media manager asked me to add text to a video. And this social media manager was more than capable of doing it with just photos alone. But when it came to video, it was just like she couldn't do it. Like her laptop was a MacBook Air, she couldn't install Premiere, didn't want to know how to use it, didn't know what H.264 meant, all of these sort of things. And so it kind of got me thinking, like, hang on, I think there could be some idea here. And iMovie, even today, doesn't let you actually click and move text around the screen, which is crazy, right?
That is crazy, yeah.
And so, it just got me thinking that the world has changed quite a lot when it comes to producing content. And there should be some video tools that were specifically designed for making content, right? Not feature films and TV shows, just, content for social. So me and my friend Tim, he just graduated from university. I was a few years out. We decided to get going and start building this thing. So we applied for his university's accelerator, which was basically just desk space. And we got in, and then we spent a few months building the product. This is kind of one of the biggest mistakes that we made actually at this time was, kind of diverging from the story a bit here, but we applied to a pitch competition to try and win some money. And during that process, to win the pitch competition, we changed our idea to make it more in line with, actually winning and getting the money. So we kind of like made it into this AI product that did all this, stupid stuff. Fortunately, we won the money, but it kind of took us massively off track. So it wasn't until we ran out of that money again and went back to the original idea of just building this simple online video editor that, things really started getting into gear. So at the end of this accelerator, we ran out of money and had to both go back to our contract jobs, but we had the basic product out and it was online. And it was getting like 50 hits a day to the site, not that much. And just for some context, the tool could, I think, trim videos. You could draw on them, add text, and crop. So it was very, very basic. No sign up, no accounts, just upload, edit, download. So while we were contracting, trying to save up some money for Runway again, we could see those user numbers just go a little bit higher every day. And before we looked around, we had some pretty good momentum. It went from 100 users a day to 200 a couple months later. And then after 4 months, we were at about 30,000 monthly users. And so at this point, it was still a free product. And then, we quit our jobs again, had a bit of money in the bank, hired a couple of people to help us, and then just kind of got down working super hard on building out more of that functionality, growing the product. And then I suppose to rewind a little bit further, in June last year, we went to Silicon Valley to meet Y Combinator, which is a startup accelerator based in Silicon Valley. And ultimately, we got rejected from the program on the reason that we weren't charging our users. And I mean, I was in the mindset that Silicon Valley was all about don't charge your users, just grow really quickly. But I think the mentality's changed quite a lot. So just literally, we got rejected, and then 48 hours after that, we already had our paywall built. We had our first customers paying for the product at just $5 a month. At that point, everything kind of changed. Like everything just got real all of a sudden. We had paid users, we had a product, we were still growing, and then it was just like hitting the ground running. And then from 9 months ago to now, we went from 0 to 40,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And we've got got a pretty good growth rate, and we would, hope to continue this year and plan to hit the 1 million ARR mark in August.
Amazing. That is, it's not just a good growth rate. That's an incredible growth rate. So it's, what a journey. No, I think, I don't think it's luck, mate. I think you put in a lot of work and you've got a good product. And, like I say, the interaction that we just had initially made me think like, oh, there's something special about these guys. So, there's not many companies in the world that kind of are like that. So, no, it's really
super kind. Thank you. I think something I'll just quickly add to that is like when I tell that story, it's very like, it looks like a very clear journey. But like when you're on that journey and you run out of money, it's like, it's the worst thing in the world, right? It's when you build the wrong product, it's like terrible. And connecting the dots when you look backwards is so easy. but
Yeah.
like when you look forwards, it's so unclear what journey you should take. So
Yeah. It's the curse of the entrepreneur, isn't it? You think like, oh, I just wish we had this or we're doing that. And my wife's always saying to me, like, Ben, look what you've done. Look back. Stop looking so far forward and look back,
yeah.
And it's, but yeah, it's a very real challenge. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think there's so many things we could dig into in that journey as well if we had the time. But even what you're talking about in terms of the funding and changing like the product that you're doing, I think, oh man, if there ever there's a lesson, for entrepreneurs in that, it's like do what you're passionate about, stick to your values, And I think, I don't know if you would agree, and but I'm sure that's something that's you've thought about in terms of that change of direction there.
Oh, massively. I think, the best validation you can get is off your users. And if your users are paying you, that's something that they want. If you're getting money from an investor, from a competition, your incentives aren't aligned with your customers, right? You are doing it, you're getting money from investors, so you're inflating those numbers, you're making it look better than it is, but you're not actually solving the problem for your users, And it's the same with like winning a competition. It's just a vanity metric when all you should be doing is focusing your time on making the product better for your users, speaking to them, listening to them. And I think that experience that we had winning that competition money, which was great at the time, is what kind of made us fail. But also that's where we learned our lesson really hard and then just doubled down the complete opposite way. We were like, okay, we know the mistake. Let's fix this. Let's talk to our users. And that's why we have this culture now where if you buy the product, you get an email from me, you can just book a call, right? And we just make ourselves very available.
Yeah, no, it's the question I would have is how you're going to scale that.
Yeah, I mean, Superhuman actually. So we have optional onboarding, and they have mandatory onboarding, and I think it is scalable. So so think about this. At the moment, our lifetime value is about $120 per user. If one person onboards, let's say 10 people a day, that's $1,000 in annual recurring revenue they've added in that one day. And that, and say that person gets paid $200 a day. I would argue that's scalable. But what I've noticed is that those onboarding calls that I do, those users are more likely to tell other people about it because, this interaction alone. B, they're more likely to give me better feedback and tell me what they need, which helps us build a better product. And C, I think they're less likely to churn. They're worth more to us over the long term. So I would argue it's beneficial, and I'd actually like to do more of it.
No. Yeah, that's great points. And I think in a world where there's, like you say, a lot of entrepreneurs trying to reach this passive income holy grail and step away from the business to sit on a beach and drink cocktails, to find entrepreneurs that are invested in their business and, passionate about that user experience is what's going to make it grow. So, case in point, me right here, because I think, if you'd have turned around, A, not replied to my email, or B, said, yeah, we'll try and get it out in 6 months, we probably would have found something else because we need to work on something as a team, but you did it. And it was, that's just one small example of how that works in a product. So,
yeah. And
really,
I think,
really powerful.
Also like I could sit on a beach if I wanted to right now, but like, if you want to just sit on a beach, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like I do not have no interest in sitting on a beach. And even if I was sitting on a beach, I'd be on my laptop, right? I think people are successful in what they do because they love what they do. And
100%.
Their end user knows that they love it too.
Yeah.
And if your passion, like if you just want to make passive income, you might as well just get a job at a bar, right? So you can have time off and not think. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do it properly, you need to be so invested. And maybe in 5 years or 10 years from now, that is the time that you might be able to sit on a beach. But I know for a fact the second that, feed is either sold or passed on to someone else, I will be on my next project. I love this so much,
Yeah, totally, man, totally. And I think that was a big part of my journey is initially thinking, I want to build a business so I can do what I'm passionate about. And these two things that were separate and, the business side of it never really took off. But when I realized that actually those could coexist, do what you're passionate about and get an income from it, it's a dream result, right? It's the best combo.
Yeah, I think I had a very similar experience when I was leaving university, I was like, I kind of wanted to be more of like I think an artist at the time. And I was like, oh no, but I'll work in design and technology to make the money to fund this more artistic endeavor that I want to do. And like, I think those can sometimes get misaligned, but then also you can bring them back together. And like, I might not be directly an artist right now, but I am giving other people the, control and the power to make whatever they want. And that is so rewarding. So I think sometimes you need to look at what you're passionate about for a few different lenses to really understand where, how you can make that into a viable business.
Yeah, that's good, man. Really good. I know I'm just conscious of time, but just one more aspect that I'd love just to ask you about is your team. Because I know you have a remote team, and there'll be a lot of people listening that either have that or have visions of doing that themselves. Our team is fully remote. We don't have offices. I'm in a bedroom right now, and so and it's something that I love and think is a really, especially now as we're recording in the midst of this coronavirus situation, it's kind of been forced on a lot of people. How are there any things, of advice that you could give to people of how you've made that work successfully and grown that team remotely?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first thing, and like maybe the biggest thing, is like the people that you decide that you want to work with and the people that you hire. Make sure that you come away from that interview being like, oh my God, we're so lucky, right? To like have them as a candidate. And if we come out of an interview and we're like, yeah, I think they could do it, like that for us is a no, right? We need to come away and be like, yes, 100 times. And that is actually a really painful process, because often when you're hiring, you need someone and you're willing to kind of make sacrifices.
Yeah.
So we just, sometimes it takes us 2 months to find someone, but we put the time in to find the right person. So that's number one. And I think because of that, we've got, great people who have a great culture fit. Second is trust. Like, we have a lot of trust, and it's very common that someone will be like, hey, I'm taking the morning off because it's nice weather. Or like, oh, I'm going to the beach, or, and that's completely cool with us. And we don't track hours, we don't track time. We have so much trust. But that is because I know that, like, at the weekends, you see the little green dot on Slack, like, they're making up the time, right? And like, they're as invested as we are. So I think having that trust works completely both ways, and just makes a great, environment for us to work in. And I think the final thing is, we spoke briefly before the call about how we manage work with the team. And I think that comes down to ownership, right? Just like giving someone a project and the autonomy to just like take that project and deliver it, and not be micromanaged is also a massive key to this as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, I think I'm still learning, and that I probably have a different answer a year from now, but that's kind of working for us right now.
Yeah, definitely. No, there's so much truth to what you're saying. I think, the big thing that has helped us is that idea of responsibilities over tasks, because tasks you have to continue to update. Here's some new tasks, but areas of responsibility is, hey, manage this. And if you get it done in 6 hours instead of 8, great. Like we're very much trying to lean into that. It's about overall responsibilities, not checking off these amount of hours work. So I love that's the same for you guys.
Yeah, no,
just to wrap up, in terms of anybody sort of thinking about starting a business, starting a new project, if you could kind of give one bit of parting advice, bit of encouragement, what would you say?
Just do it, right? It's so much fun. I think my advice from mistakes that I've made in the past is just like, ship early, get it out there super quick, right? Number one. And don't worry that it doesn't look bad, it doesn't look great, right? Just lose that ego, just get it out.
It's good.
Second is just like, constantly update it and iterate it, and tell the world about what you're doing, that update that you made, post on Reddit the new feature you added, right? Tell people on Quora about how you're developing your business. And I think it's, we have a blog where we talk about how we're developing our journey, and I think that's so, like, a lot of our users really resonate with that because they're entrepreneurs themselves. So I think, don't be afraid to be very public about what you're doing. And I think finally, like, what I said about talking to users and caring and being involved, I think that is massively overlooked in so many businesses. So definitely, send a handwritten, thank you note to one of your users who bought something from you, because there's a very good chance they're going to take a photo of it and put it on their Instagram, right? Or their LinkedIn. And then that just in turn helps you grow and makes you feel good as well. So ship fast, tell the world about what you're doing, and be very thankful and talk to your users as much as possible.
Man, that's gold. Absolute gold. Appreciate it, Sabba. You're an inspiration. Appreciate your product, and appreciate what you're doing with with customers. I know I'm making some improvements in our business just based on our interactions, and so look, I really really appreciate your time today.
Amazing.
I want to obviously send anybody that's interested in the product to the website. It's just veed.io.
That's it, yeah.
And super easy to remember. And like I say, personal testimony from us. We're using it, great tool, and are going to continue to use it more and more. This podcast will have clips from it on social media that have been made from Veed.io. So proof is in the pudding. It's a great tool. So yeah, thank you for building it, and really looking forward to seeing where it goes, mate.
Cool. Thanks so much. It's been really good to chat.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks so much for being with us on the Impact Unlimited podcast today. If the content has helped you in any way, please reach out. We would love to hear from you. Tag us on the socials if anything has inspired you from this episode. And listen, if you've got 2 minutes to spare, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Honestly, we'd be forever grateful. And to show that, when you do, be sure to enter our monthly appreciation prize draw, where we give away Amazon vouchers to our podcast community. Simply head to impactunlimited.com/podcast. That's impactunlimited.com/podcast in order to find out all the information as well as explore more free training content. Listen, it's been a pleasure. And remember, don't just make an income, make an impact. All right, we'll see you next week.